Thanks, Jenna. Hello and welcome to Legal Aid of Nebraska's webinar on property taxes and the Homestead Exemption in Nebraska. We at Legal Aid are so glad that you're able to join us this afternoon. I'm Jen Gaughan. I am the Chief of Legal Strategy at Legal Aid of Nebraska and oversee the work of the legal program here. One of the areas that Legal Aid prioritizes for providing legal assistance is in housing, including preventing the loss of housing. Losing one's home, whether it's a tenant facing eviction or a homeowner facing foreclosure, is devastating to families and impacts the entire community. You all may be aware that Legal Aid provides help to tenants facing evictions, but Legal Aid also provides legal assistance to homeowners who are at risk of losing their homes, including when they become behind on mortgage payments and face foreclosure or are because they are facing foreclosure and or behind on property taxes, which can result in the loss of their home. So I'm going to introduce Tim Lenehan. He's doing the presentation for Legal Aid this afternoon. Tim's a staff attorney at Legal Aid in our Omaha office, and he practices mainly in our debt and finance and income and benefits units. He's been with Legal Aid for about 6 years and is an Omaha native. He did his undergraduate studies at Marquette University in Milwaukee and then returned to Nebraska for law school. He's married to his wife, Laura, and they have 2 children and one on the way very soon. As Tim is doing the presentation, if you have questions, please type them into the chat or the Q&A part of the Zoom meeting, and he will answer them after each main topic. And with that, I will turn it over to Tim.
All right, thank you, Jen. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, is everything set up? Can you guys see me?
It looks great, Tim.
All right, here we go. Well, thank you, Jen, and welcome again to the basics of Nebraska property taxes and the Homestead Exemption. As Jen mentioned, I'm Tim Lenehan. I'm a staff attorney here in the Omaha office. Just to start, I want to talk a little bit about my organization, Legal Aid of Nebraska. Legal Aid of Nebraska is the state's largest nonprofit law firm. We serve all 93 counties with 7 offices across the state. We provide free civil legal services to low-income and older Nebraskans. For most of our services, an individual must be at or below 125% of federal poverty guidelines, although there are allowable deductions for those over 125%. We can use to qualify somebody at or below 125% of the guidelines. For a household of 1, that means $16,968 is 125% of the federal poverty level. For a household of 4, it's $34,000, $34,688. About 260,000 Nebraskans financially qualify for our legal services. We also have other programs where a person doesn't need to financially qualify in order to receive free legal services. For example, we have what's called our Elder Access Line, which is a free legal hotline for any that's available to anybody who's 60 years of age or older. We practice in 4 main priority areas, and those are housing, children and families, debt and finance, and income and benefits. I'm in the debt and finance group, but I also do some income and benefits work. And I do a little bit of children and families work and almost no housing work, but I touch in most of these priority units, but not a lot of the housing stuff. But this is a little bit of an overlap between housing and our debt and finance work. So I'm glad that Jen had thought of me to do this presentation here today. So clients and cases. In 2021, we had over 16,000 requests for assistance and served more than 9,500 clients in Nebraska. And that's all I wanted to cover with Legal Aid of Nebraska. So I'm going to give you guys an overview of today's presentation, or today's topics here. So let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, property taxes. So I am a homeowner, and I imagine that a number of the people that are watching this are too. So let's get into it. We are going to cover how property taxes fit within the context of the government of the state of Nebraska. Then we will cover property tax relief available under the Homestead Exemption. And last, we will cover financial assistance, including paying for property taxes available through the Nebraska Homeowners Assistance Fund. So let's start big picture with the state constitution. We're going to look at two articles of the Constitution that are most relevant here today. Article 8 of the Nebraska Constitution starts with the line, "The necessary revenue of the state and its governmental subdivisions shall be raised by taxation in such manner as the legislature may direct." So here we have the unicameral's authority to write laws regarding taxation. This article lays out some rules about taxation in the state. The big one relevant today states that taxes shall be levied by valuation uniformly and proportionately upon all real property and franchises as defined by the legislature, except as otherwise provided in or permitted by this Constitution. This article has several other rules that constrain the legislature regarding property taxation and other rules just regarding property tax or taxation generally. For example, the legislature may provide for a different method of taxing motor vehicles. And there's also some specific rules that deal with farmland. So the other relevant part of the Nebraska Constitution to cover here today is Article 4 of the Nebraska Constitution, which creates the Equalization Review, the Tax Equalization and Review Commission. The commission's members are appointed by the governor. It has several functions, but relevant today is the commission hears appeals of decisions made by county boards of equalization regarding property valuation, and we'll cover how that hierarchy works in a little bit. So let's learn a little bit about our government, shall we? The Nebraska Department of Revenue is the state agency tasked with overseeing taxation, and the department's Property Assessment Division does a lot of that work. It was created by the state constitution and statutes. It is overseen by the Property Tax Administrator. The current Property Tax Administrator is Ruth Sorensen. She was appointed by the governor, Governor Ricketts in 2015, and previously served in the same role during the Heinemann administration. The Property Tax Administrator is under the general supervision of the Tax Commissioner. So what does the Property Assessment Division do? Well, they do a whole bunch of things. Its purpose is to develop information and assist the administrators, payors, and beneficiaries of property taxes to make informed decisions concerning the quality of the assessment function of the property tax system in Nebraska. Came straight from the website. Their office is located in Lincoln and consists of legal staff and field operations staff. The legal staff provide policy function, such as summarizing legislation, drafting regulations, providing education for the county assessor certification, and most relevant today, they administer the Homestead Exemption program. The field operations staff work directly with the county assessors, and they provide advice and guidance for all issues of the assessment process, with particular focus on the assessment of real property. All right, so let's talk about the people that set the valuations for our property taxes, and those are the county assessors. The county assessors, all 93 counties have a county assessor. There are eligibility requirements to serve as a county assessor, and I know as I was preparing for this presentation, I learned that county assessors must take a certification exam, and that's put on by the Nebraska Department of Revenue Property Assessment Division. Who knew? The county assessors are tasked with valuing property, and they handle valuation protest applications. And most relevant today, they process homestead exemption applications. By statute, county assessors have a duty to determine current assessed value of single-family residential property. So county assessors, the rules that the county assessors must follow are contained in regulations issued by the Department of Revenue's Property Assessment Division. You'll see that up there. The regulations address the duties, procedures, and record-keeping responsibilities of county assessors when valuing real property. So those are the rules that they have to follow when coming up with valuations for real property. These regulations also detail the duties and powers of the county boards of equalization. So they're also covered under these regulations as well. So as we've learned, there are a few different state agencies and governmental units involved in property taxes. This will help explain how a valuation appeal works. So the county assessors prepare and they send out the valuation assessments. If you think that the valuation is wrong, you can file a valuation protest. The protest or the appeal is heard by the County Board of Equalization. They will review the evidence, hold the hearing, and then issue a decision. So that's the process. I guess the last step here is if the County Board of Equalization has their decision challenged, it would be heard before the Tax and Equalization and Review Commission, which I mentioned earlier. So that's the process. I was actually successful in challenging my own valuation a few years ago before the County Board of Equalization. And it was a pretty simple process. It wasn't too difficult, and it didn't take up too much of my time. So if you are interested in challenging your assessor's valuation, that's how you do it. And before I move on, this is the end of our first part here. Does anybody have any questions? Do we have anything in the chat?
No, the one question has to deal with how to qualify for the homestead exemption, which is going to be addressed next.
That is our next topic. So if anybody has any questions about kind of how the legal structure works for taxation in Nebraska, you can drop a question in the chat, and then we can get to it at the end, provided that we have enough time. All right, the homestead exemption. Let's be done with the civics lesson. Let's talk about property tax relief through the homestead exemption. I drive past a house pretty frequently that has property tax relief now sign in the yard, and it's there all of the time. It's there pretty much 365. Well, one form of tax relief available in Nebraska is available to homeowners. It is the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption is property tax relief for certain eligible Nebraskans. It is an exemption from the requirement that all homesteads in the state be assessed for taxation the same as other property. If a homeowner falls into one of three eligible groups, then the household income is used to calculate the amount of relief. There is also an eligibility restriction related to the value of the home. The valuation of the home cannot exceed 200% of the county's average assessed value for single family residences. In Douglas County, that amount was about $204,000. And the valuation limit is bumped up to 225% for certain groups, but I'll cover that shortly here. And the relief is a percentage of the taxed amount. So in other words, your property tax liability is reduced by a percentage. So let's define what a homestead is. The definition of homestead is found in Nebraska Revised Statute, section 77-3502. The definition of a homestead includes a residence or mobile home actually occupied by a natural person who is the owner of record thereof from January 1st through August 15th in each year. This statute also has rules for when mobile homes and condominium units are considered homesteads for the purposes of the homestead exemption. But I'm not going to get too deep into those when this is pretty much just a basic primer on the homestead exemption. Well, we are going to cover eligibility requirements. I know that Jeff in the chat had asked about eligibility requirements for the homestead exemption. So there are three groups that are eligible to receive property tax relief under the homestead exemption. They are seniors, certain disabled individuals, and veterans with 100% service-related disabilities or their widows or widowers. So let's take a look at each group. So category 1, seniors. The homestead exemption is available for seniors. Most specifically, the homeowner must be 65 years of age or older before January 1st of the application year. To be eligible for property tax relief in 2021, the homeowner must have been 65 on or before January 21st of this year. And this is something I've run into in my practice recently, actually. So we had a married couple. The husband was over 65 on the first of the year, but the wife was not. And she had come in to get some help filling out her homestead exemption application. So we contacted the Douglas County Assessor's office, and they said, okay, it does not matter if one owner qualifies under this category. It does not matter if the other owner is not 65. So it did not matter that wife was not 65, so long as husband was 65 before the first of the year. So this category is nice and straightforward, and I don't have the numbers, but I would imagine that this category is the largest category of people that are taking advantage of the homestead exemption, just because there are so many more. And the other two categories have very specific rules. They're a little more niche than this first group. So category 2. So certain disabled individuals are also eligible for the homestead exemption. They include persons with permanent physical disability that cannot walk without regular use of a mechanical aid or prosthesis, persons who've undergone amputation of both arms above the elbows, persons with permanent partial disability of both arms in excess of 75%, developmentally disabled individuals, and wartime veterans totally disabled due to non-service connected disability. So there are, the statutes have more rules concerning disability, what is and isn't considered disability, but these are the main points to take out of this category. So category 3 is disabled veterans or their widows or widowers. And the last category, it's like category 2, it's very specific about who is eligible. So this includes a veteran with a 100% service-connected disability or their unmarried widow or widower, an unremarried widow or widower of a veteran who died as the result of a service-connected disability, an unremarried or remarried at 57 or older widow or widower of a veteran whose death while on active duty was service-connected, and a veteran whose home is substantially contributed to by the Veterans Administration. So those who fall into category 3 receive the full homestead exemption, meaning that you pay no property taxes regardless of your income or the value of the home. There's additional requirements for categories 1 and 2. If you're applying for the homestead exemption under category 1 or 2, which you'll remember is seniors and disabled individuals, you have these additional eligibility requirements. So the value of the home cannot exceed 200% or 225% for veterans and persons qualifying with disabilities. It cannot exceed 200 or 225% of the county's averaged assessed value. For Douglas County in 2021, the averaged assessed value was $204,440. So the current value of the home cannot exceed 200% or 225% of that number. Another restriction is the requirement that the home must be occupied between January 1 and August 15th of the tax year being exempted. And of course, you must meet the income guidelines. The income guidelines will determine the amount of property tax relief. So the amount of relief. So first, you have to fall into one of the 3 categories, which we just covered. If you do, your marital status and your household income from the prior tax year are used to determine what percentage of your tax bill you do not pay. The homestead exemption statutes have 11 income categories that determine your percentage of relief. You calculate your income, you check the income scale, and you see what percentage of your tax bill you will not be responsible for paying. On the lowest end of the income scale, you have a single person with income of $20,700.99 or less, or a married couple with $36,100.99 or less in household income. They will receive 100% relief, meaning they will not pay any property taxes for that tax year. On the highest end of the income scale, a single person with income of $45,101 or more, or a married couple with income of $53,601 or more, they get zero relief, no relief. So most people fall somewhere in between there, somewhere in that middle. Last week, I had a retiree who was single. The only income in 2021 was Social Security retirement benefits. Her income was somewhere around $33,000 for the year. So looking at the scale, which is available online, and it comes with the packet when you request your homestead exemption application, this woman would qualify for 80% tax relief. So she gets her tax bill and 80% of that is cut out, and then she's responsible for paying the remaining 20%, the remaining amount. So how do you apply for the homestead exemption? Applications must be filed with the county assessor where the property is located after February 1st, between February 1st, after February 1st, or on or before June 30th of each year. So you've got this window between February 1st and June 30th to file your application. That means right now and up until June 30th, you can apply for property tax relief through the homestead exemption for your 2021 property taxes. We've seen an uptick in people coming to Legal Aid of Nebraska asking with assistance to do their homestead exemption application. Current recipients, meaning people who've received the homestead exemption for their 2020 property taxes, they'll receive their application packet in the mail. And if you haven't applied before, call your county assessor or check their website, and they will mail you a packet. And late applications are allowed by statute, but only in specific circumstance where the spouse died during the year for which the exemption is requested. But if that's not the case, you and your spouse, you must submit your application by the June 30th deadline. Okay, what do you need to apply for the homestead exemption application? Well, you need income information. In addition to filling out your homestead exemption application itself, you have to fill out Form 450 Schedule 1, the income statements. Before meeting with clients to fill out the homestead exemption application, we tell them to gather all proof of income from 2021. For most people, this means gathering their federal income tax return and or their Social Security income statement that they received from the Social Security Administration around tax season. There are also other tax income forms, income tax forms. If your income included a pension or annuity, interest and dividends from investments, railroad retirement benefits, and IRA distributions. So I have the IRS form numbers up there for each of those. But the point is, you're going to have to gather up your 2021 income information in order to complete the homestead exemption application. So make sure you do that work on the front end before you just try to go and fill it out, because you are going to need that information in order to complete this income statement that's necessary to submit with the application itself. You're also going to need to know your out-of-pocket medical expenses. So out-of-pocket medical expenses can be used in determining your income for homestead exemption purposes. You can deduct out-of-pocket medical expenses like insurance premiums. So you've got your medical insurance premiums, Medicare Part D drug plan premiums, supplemental health insurance premiums, nursing home insurance premiums, quite a few here. There are also quite a number of out-of-pocket expenses like paying for your doctors, any unreimbursed medical expenses related to a hospital stay or care facilities, or even prescription drug expenses can be used as a deduction from your income for homestead exemption purposes. So I know in Douglas County, and I think this is probably true with most counties, they send you a worksheet that you can use to track your expenses with an explanation of what expenses should be used. And that can be helpful. Again, you're going to want to have that information gathered up before you fill out your homestead exemption application. So the homestead exemption application, who can help you? Well, if you aren't comfortable with filling out the homestead exemption application on your own, there are people that can help. Legal Aid of Nebraska has walk-in clinics in Omaha and Lincoln, where you can bring in your income information and your out-of-pocket expense information, and we can assist you with completing or reviewing your homestead exemption application. The service is available to anybody who's 60 or older, and it's also available to those who income qualify for our services. So if you are under 60 years of age or older, you will have to income qualify to receive services from Legal Aid of Nebraska. But we do have help available if you want somebody to help you fill out the application, or if you want somebody just to review what you put down before you submit it to your county assessor. And the county assessors offices sometimes partner with outside programs to assist people with filling out the homestead exemption application. And those partners can do it over the phone or in person. Douglas County partners with an organization called Volunteers Assisting Seniors to do this. If you're outside of Douglas County, check with your local county assessor's office to see if they have any partnerships or programs available to help with this application. So, property taxes and the importance of budgeting. So if a homeowner does not pay their property taxes, it can result in them losing their home. Homeowners who have mortgages, well, typically their property taxes are paid with the mortgage payment. The property tax portion of the payment goes into escrow, an escrow account as part of the agreement with the mortgage lender, and then the lender pays the property taxes. But for those who have no mortgage payment, including those with reverse mortgages, it is important to budget for your property taxes and to pay them. If not, past due property taxes are sold to third parties by the county treasurer. If the property taxes are not redeemed, meaning paid, within a certain period of time, the third party that bought the taxes can request a deed to your house. In that process, the third party that purchased the taxes gets title to the house free and clear. The homeowner does not get the remaining equity. So if the property taxes were purchased for $10,000 on a home worth $100,000, and the homeowner who has no mortgage does not redeem the taxes according to law, the homeowner loses their home plus the $90,000 in equity over a $10,000 property tax debt. Our firm has at least one, and I think maybe two cases right now where we are helping property owners who didn't pay their property taxes and are at risk of losing their homes over just a few $1,000s in property taxes. So if you are behind on your property taxes, or you have other housing related expenses that you need help with, there is a new program called the Nebraska Homeowners Assistance Fund available to help. And before we do that, is there anybody who has any questions about the homestead exemption, either the application or the eligibility requirements?
There were two questions, Tim. One is, and this is, I believe, related to the third category of those who could qualify for the homestead, is what does home is substantially contributed to by the VA mean?
I do not know. I would imagine that the statute defines what substantially contributed to means by. I would guess that if the mortgage was taken out with a VA loan, that might be something that falls into the statute, but I don't actually know, and I have to kind of dig a little bit deeper to tell you.
Yeah, we can probably find the answer out to that question. And then a second question is, which I think you answered, but throughout the presentation, but is the income qualification for the homestead exemption based on taxable income or any income, whether taxable or not?
It is based on, I believe, just on taxable income. And I think I did it one a few weeks ago. And I think it goes off of your AGI, and then you deduct those unreimbursed out-of-pocket medical expenses. But yeah, I think you do have to, if you have other income, I'm not sure what income would be considered non-taxable income, but usually we tell you, go off of the forms that you filed with the IRS, and that's going to be basically all that you need to get your application completed.
And another question that you may not know the answer to is there some place that lists what the 200% limit on the assessed property is for each county?
Yeah, that information is available online. I would imagine the Department of Revenue would have either the property division that I mentioned earlier. I think they probably have that information. I know they have all of the information for the county assessors, but I think your individual county assessor office will have that information available. I know Douglas County posted theirs online. So if your county does have, your county assessor does have a website, I bet that's where you'd be able to find that information.
And then I think this is the last question. If you are behind on taxes but actively making payments, does it get sent to a third-party collector still?
Jen, you might be able to kind of
Yeah.
help with this. It doesn't, they don't get sent to a third party like a collections agency. Your property taxes don't get sent to a collections agency, I don't believe.
Right, they are sold.
They're sold, yeah, the county treasurer holds on to that debt and then would sell it after I think it's a statutory period of time that they have to wait to try to get you to catch up. Is that right, Jen?
Right, you have to redeem, yes. So the property taxes are sold, so for that, say, for a given year. So if you're behind on your property taxes in 2019, maybe they were sold in 2021, and then you would have to, as the homeowner, redeem or pay the full amount of the taxes that were purchased. I hope that answers the question. So if you haven't paid that full amount of property taxes, then you haven't fully redeemed your property and it's subject to potentially being transferred to a third party if it's not redeemed within the statutory period of time.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I understand the question too.
Yeah.
As somebody who's trying to catch up on their past due property taxes and they're trying to do it before the redemption period ends.
So hopefully that answers the question. Let's see here. In regard to seniors, it was mentioned that both spouses do not need to be 65 or over to qualify, but later it was stated that it doesn't matter as long as the husband is 65 or older. Is it actually the husband this is based on?
Yes. Yeah. So the husband was 65 turned 65 last year. Wife turned 65 sometime early this year. Because husband was 65 before January 1st of this year, they can use, he can apply and they can use the homestead exemption they'll be eligible under that category, but their income would both be considered as household income.
Right, and just to clarify, if the wife in that instance was 65 and the husband was 64, they would still, it doesn't matter that it's the husband.
No, doesn't matter if it's the husband. No, it just one of the two in the married couple just needs to be 65 before January 1st.
I think that's it for the questions.
Okay. Well, if anybody, I think we might have a few extra minutes at the end here. I'm going to cover our last topic here, which is the Nebraska Homeowners Assistance Fund. So as part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Congress provided funds to the United States Treasury's Homeowners Assistance Fund to prevent foreclosures and to assist American homeowners. In Nebraska, there is financial assistance available to homeowners who have experienced or continue to experience a financial hardship associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. Financial assistance is available to pay mortgages, to pay property taxes, homeowners insurance premiums, flood insurance premiums, homeowner association dues, and more. The financial assistance is a grant, so the applicant does not have to pay it back. And the assistance is paid directly to the servicers on behalf of eligible homeowners. As I mentioned, eligibility is based on financial hardship due to the pandemic and based on household income. So let's look a little bit more closely about the HAF eligibility requirements. So assistance is available to homeowners and borrowers living in the home, plus the spouse of the homeowner. The applicant must have suffered financial hardship related to the COVID-19 pandemic that caused a need for assistance that occurred after January 21st of 2020, so just prior to the pandemic. And the financial hardship was due to a significant loss of income or due to a significant increase in expenses. The homeowner, borrower, or spouse with a pandemic-related financial hardship must be living in the home at the time of the application and intend to continue living in the home as their primary residence. A homeowner, if not the person with the hardship, must be living in the home at the time of the application and intend to continue living in the home as their primary residence. And the home must be the primary residence and have been purchased, owned, or inherited prior to the hardship. And there are also some income restrictions. The income of the homeowner, borrower, and spouse residing in the home must be equal to or less than 100% of the area median income for their county. And the maximum assistance available for any household is $30,000, but $30,000 can go a long way when you're talking about dealing with property taxes and mortgage payments and that kind of thing. So eligible homeowners include those facing foreclosure, including people who are facing foreclosure due to a reverse mortgage. I have a client right now who forgot to reapply for the homestead exemption. She had applied and received homestead exemption relief in years past, but just forgot for 1 year. So now she has past due property taxes that she cannot afford to pay. She has a reverse mortgage on the house. And one of the terms of that reverse mortgage requires her to keep her property taxes current. So the lender filed to foreclose, and we are currently trying to get housing assistance funds, homeowners assistance funds to pay off the property taxes and to reinstate the reverse mortgage. And as I was talking to Jen prior to this hearing, I actually just got notice this morning that the lender has decided to dismiss their foreclosure case. So that is good news for my client because we don't need to worry about them proceeding with the foreclosure. But we do need to get those property taxes paid. And so we are going to continue to help her try to get those HAF funds in order to catch her up on her property taxes and make sure that that lender doesn't come after her for foreclosure again. So there's financial assistance that can help pay past due property taxes. Financial assistance can also be used to pay unpaid home association dues, past due mortgage payments. The funds can also be used to help clear title on real estate and is available for other housing related expenses. So it's a great program and it's going to help a lot of people stay in their homes. The funds can be used for a pretty wide variety of needs, as you can see here. So if this is something that you may be interested in, you can go ahead and apply online through nebraskahaf.com. And if you need assistance completing the application, they've got a phone number that you can call during regular business hours. You'll find that up there. And then one final note that when you're applying for HAF assistance, you've got to provide documentation regarding your income, your home ownership, and then proof of the expenses that you want help paying. So obviously your proof of your income could be your tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, home ownership, the deed to the property, the county records regarding who owns the property, that kind of thing, and then proof of expenses, whatever it is that you need paid. If you've got property taxes, you need to provide your property tax bill. If you've got homeowners association dues, the bill would be very useful to submit, but you're going to have to furnish documentary evidence that will be used to consider and possibly approve your application. So with that, I think that is all I have regarding the Homeowners Assistance Fund. Are there any questions about anything that we covered here today?
There's a question about, do you know the median income for Douglas County and Sarpy County residents? That information is actually on the NIFA website, and NIFA administers the Nebraska Homeowners Assistance Fund. But I do know that information. So for Douglas County, the median income for one person is $79,900, and I believe that's the amount for almost, if it's not all counties, it's almost all counties in Nebraska. So, yep, SARPI is $79,900 for a household of one. And then the other question that's been asked a few times is, will the PowerPoint be available for attendees? And the answer to that is yes. I believe they'll be emailed after the presentation today.
Sure. And I'm happy to, I'll add an additional slide with my contact information. So if anybody wants to reach out, I can't give you legal advice unless you qualify for our services, but I'm happy to answer any questions or direct you to applying for legal aid services if that's something you would like to consider.
And Jenna also posted the link to the NYFA median incomes in the chat as well.
Great. Okay, any other questions?
One was asking to, which just came in, can you provide information about how to protest your taxes?
Yeah, I can kind of review that. So if you're going to protest the valuation, you file, you're going to go to your county assessor and they'll start you with the process. You file a protest application, and I think you submit it to the county assessor, but then it's going to trigger the County Board of Equalization. They will get that protest application and then they will set it for a hearing. If I remember correctly, when I did mine, they just did a phone hearing. I submitted, I think, the evidence that I had regarding what I thought the true value of my house was. And then they had that at the for the phone hearing. But that's the step. You file the protest and then you have your hearing before the County Board of Equalization, wherever the property is located. And then once the County Board of Equalization issues their decision, if you are not happy with that, then you can take it up to the Tax Equalization Commission. So that's it. And then there's, of course, there's legal relief available too. You can file in the courts. I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but the administrative procedure is to go through the County Board of Equalization and then up to the Tax Equalization Commission as well.
There's another question to figure out the value of the home. Is it the taxable value on the treasurer's website or the land and improvement value total on the assessor's valuation page?
You'll want to go to your county assessor. I think it will be all the combined. It was they'll give you the taxable amount, but you should go to your county assessor. That's where you're going to find it.
Okay. And I think that was in reference to the 200% of to figure out the 200% of the value of the home for the homestead exemption, maybe, and not the.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the answer to that question is, but to figure out the value of the home, to figure out if it's above or below the 200%, is it the taxable value on the county treasurer's website or the land and improvement value total?
It's actually neither. So it's the county's average assessed value for single family residences. So it is going to be a collective of all of the assessed value, the average assessed value for single family residences.
I think that's for your particular home.
Yep, and then you use that number and see if whether the 200% or the 225% applies to you, and that's how you figure out. Then you'll look at your taxable income or your valuation from the county assessor's website to see whether your home actually exceeds that value or not. So you will be using the county assessor's information.
And then do you have a referral for Iowa homeowners that might need help with tax exception?
We do not have any kind of specific referral, but what I would recommend is looking for a similar legal aid organization in Iowa, wherever it may be. I know Iowa Legal Aid is a similar organization to Legal Aid of Nebraska, but they serve Iowans with legal issues. So I would check with them first, or check with the county assessor wherever that property is located in Iowa, and they may be able to direct you to some resources. All right, anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here today. As we mentioned, we will have the PowerPoint slides available, and this is also recorded. So if you would like a copy of that, I think we might be able to make that happen. But I do appreciate you listening to me today. And if you have any questions, I will put my contact information on a new slide, and feel free to reach out to me. All right. And I gotta stop recording.